Miss Lewis's first grade literacy class, a literacy case study by Mackenzie, Michelle, Andrea, and Celeste. Background. Miss Lewis teaches first grade at Eastwood Elementary School in Southern California. Compared to other schools in the district, Eastwood is considered a low-budget public school. Particular things like school activities, field trips, and classroom materials are very limited, if available at all, because money is not available. Because of this issue, students are not exposed to the same amount of differentiated instruction compared to the other students in the district. The students who attend this school typically come from lower middle or working class families, and therefore the parent involvement is limited. Their lack of involvement is usually due to the fact that both parents work and do not have the time or money to help with school activities. Miss Lewis is considered a new teacher and is in her second year of teaching. She is still struggling with understanding her students, where they come from, and the ways in which she can help give them the education they deserve. She doesn't understand how each student differs in their ability to learn and has a difficult time seeing each student as an individual. Because her classroom materials are limited, she does not have a good variety of text to go off of. Miss Lewis comes from little money herself and is upset by the school's inability to provide supplies for her classroom and students. Miss Lewis has been searching for ways to improve her teaching abilities, but loses motivation soon into the school year due to the school district's budgeting failures, which cause lack of materials and resources. She has stopped putting forth the effort to turn her classroom into an effective and text-rich literacy environment because she has come to the conclusion that it is what it is. She has looked into the INTAS standards, which highlight what effective teaching and learning looks like across subjects and grade levels, in order for the teacher to prepare his or her students to advance further in their learning career. Ms. Lewis has been focusing mostly on standard number 3, learning environments, which states, the teacher works with others to create environments that support individual and collaborative learning and that encourage positive social interaction, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation. These are a few of the performance criteria listed under Standard 3 of the INTAS that she has been focusing on. The teacher manages the learning environment to actively and equitably engage learners by organizing, allocating, and coordinating the resources of time, space, and learners' attention. The teacher uses a variety of methods to engage learners in evaluating the learning environment and collaborates with learners to make appropriate adjustments. The teacher promotes responsible learner use of interactive technologies to extend the possibilities for learning locally and globally. Even though she has read through these standards and understands how they apply to her as a teacher, she doesn't feel that there is anything she can do on her own to accomplish them. These goals are important in order for Ms. Lewis to create an effective and rich literacy learning environment for her students. The standards emphasize the importance of engaging the students and creating an environment that supports and encourages them to be active and motivated learners. As a teacher, the standards will also help Ms. Lewis to promote responsible, self-directed learners, as well as encouraging them to work collaboratively. By implementing these INTAS standards into her classroom, Ms. Lewis will create a more engaging literacy environment for her students. Scenario. Ms. Lewis has been teaching at Eastwood for 2 years. Although she has wanted in the past to apply more innovative methods of teaching, she mostly uses a classic, outdated, and ineffective approach to teaching her students. When she first began teaching, she was very passionate and enthusiastic about it and would ask her colleagues often for advice on teaching at this particular school. Since her fellow teachers are mostly burnt out and unfamiliar with new teaching methods, she does not have much support for incorporating these techniques. After about a year at this, she began getting very discouraged, and by now she has pretty much adopted the attitude of her colleagues. Ms. Lewis is unmotivated to make changes or improvements to her teaching style because she feels like there is no point and that her support system is weak. In her classroom, there are not many materials available for her or her students. The classroom library consists of only a few tattered old books the students show little to no interest in. The books are not challenging for the students, nor do they promote thought or deep learning. Ms. Lewis does not have the money to add to her classroom library, so she takes her students to the school library to pick out books they are interested in. The library they are on In the library they are on a schedule because of other classes wanting to come get books, causing Miss Lewis and her class not to have efficient enough time to really look at the books in a thoughtful way. Because of the lack of time, the students often get off task and mess around in the library. The librarian has made new rules that younger grades have to stay in one section of the library so that the older grades who are reading won't be disturbed. Miss Lewis has gotten discouraged by this and rarely takes her students to the library anymore. Miss Lewis does implement engaging literary activities for students to complete. Some of these activities include working on worksheets that teach beginning and ending sounds, Mimic McGee, where the students repeat words and write them down when the teacher says them in class, and she also reads books to the class around the holidays. These activities typically have her students engaged. However, after the students complete the work, she does not return it with feedback or put them up around the class to give the students the opportunity to look at their work and their classmates' work. Her students are unable to have a sense of authorship and ownership. They are also unable to recognize what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong on these different activities. This leads to confusion among her students and a lack of clarity. For example, since she only reads aloud to her students around the holidays, when she gives them a fantasy story worksheet, they do not know how to predict what is going to happen in the chess since they are not familiar with storylines and how they work. Since they do not know what to do, some of them do not complete the task and some just draw a picture that has nothing to do with the story. Appendix A. Appendix B. Appendix